We are being hoodwinked and bamboozled, and I'm here to set the record straight. So, tonight's live is all about the Howard University enrollment controversy. I could not give my point of view as someone who is a proud graduate and a proud HBCU supporter. No matter what HBCU you go to, I am someone who will do anything and everything that I can to try to make your journey as smooth as possible to get you to the finish line. But, and however, I am having a huge challenge with the news coverage, the social media coverage, the trending topic that's taking place regarding Howard University. And I'm telling you, it's a distraction, y'all. It's a distraction. So, tonight we're going to talk about the facts and the feelings and why I know for certain this is a distraction. And I'll just start off with the number one reason. The number one reason is this has been going on at Howard University since before I attended. I have gone through challenges with the administration office, with financial aid, delays, et cetera, et cetera. And we're talking many, many years ago. And if you listen to some of the other graduates, they share the same sentiment. So much so, I'm going to play, there's a video from a doctor who breaks down Howard University and the process in the most brilliant way. Like, she literally has taken the words out of my mouth. And what I want us to do as consumers of media is to just really know when they are trying to put the banana in the tailpipe. Why is this headline news? Why all of a sudden is Howard University being turned into like the boogeyman? The most prestigious HBCU of them all, that's right, one of one, is now being vilified. And other states are now trying to come in as the savior and the rescue for Howard University students who got unenrolled. We're going to go over some stats as well to hopefully make it a little clearer as to what is taking place with Howard. But just in the back of your mind, as you're listening to this, the first takeaway is Howard University is in, where is it located? The nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Howard University has prime real estate, waterfront real estate. And then couple that with the fact that there are 30,000 students, probably more, including all of the schools and colleges that are of color in the nation's capital. I promise you, y'all are being hoodwinked and bamboozled. So I wanted to share this image of me and the president, Mr. Wayne Frederick of Howard University. And if you're watching this on the back end, like if you're not watching this live, I implore you, I encourage you to speed this up. I promise you tonight, we're not going to be here long. We're coming on late, but this is a topic that I said I was going to cover a few days ago, and I'm just getting the chance to. But I really want you to understand what's really happening from someone who's attended, from someone who's involved with the alumni, from someone who is connected to people who are still part of the trustee board, et cetera, et cetera. I want the truth to be heard. So we're going to start off listening to one of the interviews with the president of Howard University. There are multiple interviews. We'll start with this one, and then I want to go into the breakdown of my experience. So let's go ahead and take a listen. Oh, I didn't have it queued up. Thought I did. 1 second. Here we go.
You are a Howard graduate. If you were an incoming freshman experiencing what hundreds are going through right now, how do you think you'd be handling this situation?
Certainly I empathize with the students who are in this situation. And to be quite honest, I came here as a 16-year-old to go to school, and I can imagine the enormous pressure it puts everyone under. The reality is, though, over 2,200 students and families did exactly what we expected them to do and followed the policies and procedures and met the deadline, which means that I feel that our communication was pretty comprehensive. We have to make some adjustments because we have a very diverse student body, and about 47% of our students are Pell Grant eligible. And so we certainly need to recognize that we have to enhance our communications and really support our students even more.
Have you seen this happen before? And what would you say to those parents who say they did not receive adequate notice and this surprised them, came out of nowhere?
Yeah, I find that a little difficult to accept because, as I said, 2,200 students and families did exactly the right thing, and we send the same communication to everyone. As a matter of fact, we've gone to texting students as well to make sure that they get our responses, etc. And then in some circumstances, students misunderstood what the 50% of the outstanding balance meant. And so if the bill is 60,000 and you got aid for 40,000, some students felt they met what we were trying to express. And in reality, what we said is, if your aid is 40,000, then you have a balance of 20,000, and you have to remit 50,000. And as I said, 2,200 plus students and families did exactly that and got the same instruction. So my goal now is just to ensure that we continue to communicate as better and also to really reach out to those families so that we could assist them in the best way possible.
And sir, just to be clear, this deadline was put out there to these families. This wasn't a decision that the university came to just weeks before the start of the semester. Is that right?
That's right. We've been, as a matter of fact, in March, we sent out financial aid packages. That's the earliest we've ever done that. And we opened our portal for housing in April, which is also the earliest we've ever done that. So we really try to communicate aggressively every single month. But we also gave people information very early, earlier than we ever have, actually.
So was the school expecting a large group of students to arrive? Were beds available for these students that had been accepted?
We've reinstated over 200 students, and we do have bed capacity for all of those students. So none of the students that were unenrolled, we did not change their housing assignment or provide their beds to anyone else. We kept those beds open, hoping that we would be able to resolve the situation with as many of them as possible. And so far, we've done that for over 200 of them already. So this was not an issue about not having bed capacity.
I see. And how did the school weigh the potential long-term consequences that students and their families would be facing once these students were unenrolled?
Well, there are two sides to that coin. One is we definitely recognize that people want to be here at Howard, and we don't take that lightly. And not having the opportunity for them to come to us and start with us is something that we certainly, don't want to see happen. However, we recognize that our graduation rate is not 100%, and our four-year graduation rate is just under 70%. And so the reality is, as bright as and talented as our students are when they get here, they face significant financial hurdles, and that's probably the large majority of why they don't finish on time. So we really are trying to do our best to make sure that when students start, they can finish. And this is part of what we must do on the front end, because I think having them leave without a degree and with debt is not the right thing as well.
So we may get to the rest of the interview, but the nuggets that I want you to take away from that conversation is that the emphasis has been placed on the 500 students that were unenrolled versus the 2,200 plus students that were not. And while I do have empathy for those who got caught off guard, and I'm not here to say that Howard University does not have a problem with communication, because they absolutely do. However, if you want something bad enough, you are going to do the work. You are going to figure out. Dr. Frederick talked about this is the earliest that they started notifying people of what was needed. They also incorporated text messages and unpopular opinion as someone who hires interns, has been hiring interns for decades. It's a different mindset nowadays. Not to say that the much younger generation, whether it's an alpha now or the Gen Z, are not bright, because they absolutely are. But the amount of commitment that is required to finish certain things, I would say is lacking overall. I don't want to say everyone, but it's definitely lacking. And so I do want to, again, just make it clear that this has not been, this is not a new issue, a new problem. Lack of communication has been a problem with Howard University for decades. The difference is now social media. The difference is now everyone feels that they're a victim, so let's go on social media and tell our story. If social media was around when I was in college, and even before, let's say 80s, 90s, 70s, 80s, it would be the same situation. The only difference was we didn't have this outlet. And so, you know what we did instead? We figured it out. We figured things out. Now, let's get into some facts, which means sheer numbers. Fact number one: Howard University is a very expensive university to attend. Tuition is over $60,000. When I was there, it's nowhere near that. Things have definitely changed. The popularity has grown. And especially now during this climate, it's, the demand is what is it? Supply and demand. The demand is quite high. Supply is low. Prices go up. And so with that being said, not everyone can afford, even if you want desperately to attend what's known as the Mecca, the premier university for Black students. And I'm going to share this image because I think this helps to tell the story. Well, I'll share that in a second. But there are hurdles from financial. Fact number one: there are hurdles that you're going to have to jump through. You're going to have to stay on top of. Even if you have grants and loans and scholarships, if that paperwork is not processed in a timely manner, then it's like you don't have it. Howard University, fact number two, has also lost $69 million in federal funding under this new administration. $69 million, just poof, gone, and has been diverted to other colleges and universities. This is not just exclusive to Howard. There's a lot of HBCUs that have gone through that, hence why what's Jeff Bezos' ex-wife? Well, anyway, she started writing checks out of her own bank account to help HBCUs sustain and not go under. But that's fact number two. So dealing with the fact that money is drying up from, subsidized sources, it is even more critical now that if a student wants to attend this university, they have to show that they can afford to pay for the university. And I know for a fact that that was not in every situation. That was not the case. They could not show that they could afford to pay for the university. Fact number 3, a lot of parents have been downsized, have been outsourced, who they may even just fear for their current job situation. And while, yes, you would love for your child to attend their first choice in a university, some parents who could have afforded to put them through school or put their students through school or at least pay a portion of it last year can no longer afford it this year. And the application process began last year for this year. So applications open up next month, this month for 2027 enrollment. So fact number 3. Fact number 4, navigating the acceptance and enrollment landscape is complicated. It's complex. And if you do not have the support as a student, I'm talking about the students now, the students who were accepted, if they did not have the support from their parents to help them navigate the emails, the text messages, the deadlines, we're talking 16, 17, 18-year-olds. And this, in a lot of circumstances, is the first big decision that they've had to make, right? They're leaving home. Where are they going? How are they going to sustain themselves? That all requires support. And I know if I didn't have support, it would have been 10 times more difficult for me, not only to get accepted, but to matriculate. And so, unfortunately, if you were not a parent that was on top of it, if you didn't have guidance counselors on top of it, if you didn't have an adult who knew how to navigate, my parents both went to college, so this was not foreign for them. But in some instances, these are, the first members of their family to be accepted, or not just accepted, but go off to college. So it's difficult for any young person to navigate. And then when you add a financial component to it that they can't assume, it makes it even more difficult. Fact number 5. Howard, as I mentioned earlier, is one of one. The school has always been in high demand, but even more so now. And I'm just going to share let me just quickly share. Let me remove this. And I'm going to share another image that kind of puts things in perspective about just how powerful Howard University is. Howard is known to have had, I'm trying to pull it up on my screen, y'all. Give me 1 second. Desktop, there we go. Some of the best and the brightest graduate. Okay, so in this list, this does not include the first woman vice president of the United States. Kamala Harris is a graduate of Howard University, but the first African-American Supreme Court justice, the first African-American U.S. senator, the first female woman mayor of a major city, the first African-American woman lawyer, the first African-American elected U.S. governor, the first U.S. ambassador who happened to be African-American. And I'm going to go through the rest of the list without just repeating African-American, but you can see through the list. That's what I'm talking about. The first woman doctor to receive a patent for a medical invention, the first elected to the National Academy of Sciences, the first woman to earn a doctorate in bacteriology, the first admitted to Johns Hopkins University, the first graduate of Harvard Business School. All of these were Howard University grads. And guess what else? All of them, in one way, shape, form, or fashion, probably had issues with the administration building, or office with the financial aid office with some form of communication. But guess what? They made it work. They figured it out. The first African American general in the US Army, the first African American radio sportscaster, the first actress to win the Tony for Best Performance by a Leading Actress in a Play, the first female bishop of the AME Church, and the list goes on. This is just a small list of some of the first. And I'm showing this just to really underscore, hey, Dante, another impromptu that you got to catch. Good to see you in the building. I'm just showing this to underscore the fact that if you knew the story, the backstory of the people that I just went over, they weren't wealthy. They didn't come in and just drop down the amount of tuition. They too had to go through the hurdles, the ups and downs of the administration building, of the financial aid office, as did I. And they made it work. And you know what happened when they made it, got through it? They were all the better for it. And that's what I like to say. Like, I don't know that my career trajectory would have been what it was had I not had those problems. Because guess what? It's a cold, cold, cold world for us out here. It's a cold, cold, cold world. And you're going to hear no way more than you're going to hear yes. You're going to come up against hurdles way more than you're going to ease on down the road. But when you learn how to overcome these hurdles through things like the administration building, through things like financial aid, through things like they lost my payment for my cap and gown, which happened to me, and you're able to find a solution, because every problem has a solution. It's just in this day and age with large language models, AI, computers, oh gosh, it doesn't lend to having the patience and or the knowledge to really figure things out. And so when we went over the fact that 500 students were unenrolled, the update is now that just over 200 were re-enrolled. But over 2,200, so that means now only 300, just about 300 students of almost 3,000 students didn't do what they were supposed to do. No matter if it was bad communication. Now, if they could prove that it was bad communication, I understand there was a whole lot of help being implemented, but that was few and far between. It was more that, just because it says it's due on the 3rd, I get paid on the 10th, so they'll get it on the 10th. And it was more that type of understanding, or children did not provide the information to their parents, the deadlines. And it is not the school's responsibility to make sure everyone in your family knows what's going on. It's like, I got the acceptance letter. I got the dates that I needed to be every place. And I had to pass that information along to my parents to make sure that whatever monies were due, they took care of. I needed to get to DC. How we get in there? Like, all of that had to be disseminated to adults to make sure that all of that was handled. And so I do want to play this audio. I'm going to play the video actually from this doctor who basically she took the words right out of my mouth, child. She took the words right out of my mouth. Oops. Let me remove this. Okay. And I just love when I hear people just totally say what's in my brain. And this came out about a week ago, but I'm going to share. Okay, here we go. Share screen, Instagram. Here we go. So, yep, you can see that. Let me go ahead and play.
leader for the last 20 years. So if you're coming across this video, it means the universe wants us to connect. So go ahead and follow, or you can just leave a comment because I'd love to hear your thoughts on this conversation.
Start it again.
And lose some followers because of this video, but I need to speak about the Howard situation. Y'all already know I stand 10 toes down for my HBCUs, always as an advocate. I was educated by one, I worked at two, I have stepped foot on 78 of the 103 campuses. So you already know I always come from a place of love and do no harm for my HBCUs. So I'm Dr. Aaron. I have a PhD in industrial organizational psychology and EDD and curriculum instruction, and I've been an educational leader for the last 20 years. So if you're coming across this video, it means the universe wants us to connect. So go ahead and follow, or you can just leave a comment because I'd love to hear your thoughts on this conversation. Right now, everyone is really upset with Howard University. And so while we're talking about what the university should have or could have done, we also need to have the conversation about responsibilities for students and families in the financial aid clearance process. Because the university may actually be limiting what they can say publicly to be able to protect student privacy, which I fully support. I, on the other hand, don't have that. And so I'm going to explain to us the process and how it usually works for our institutions. We know paying for school is complicated. There is a reason why people have literally built entire businesses around helping families to navigate higher education, and they know who they are. Let's step out of our feelings for a moment and actually unpack the financial clearance process using facts and standard university procedures, okay? So I've worked at 5 different colleges, and although every institution has its own policies, the basic...
Now, I just want you to really understand her credentials. And so if you have to listen to this again, this is not someone just speaking from a place of emotion, like she's trying to keep her job or she works for the university. This woman has experience. So let's keep it going.
The process is usually the same. Students who receive some sort of outside scholarship are typically required to submit official documentation to the university scholarship office. That documentation is clearly identifying the student, the scholarship provider, the award amount, and when that payment is expected. The university then verifies the award and determines whether or not it is sufficient enough to reduce or to eliminate any type of upfront payment. Now notice, eliminate or reduce upfront payment. There is still an upfront payment for our institutions because ultimately our college universities are still businesses. They still have to operate as businesses. So in some cases, a verified scholarship may be entered into a student's account as awarded, but not yet paid. This allows the university some actual time to recognize that the funding is expected, even though the money hasn't arrived yet. But the student's record should also include some sort of notes that document what the award is and its current status. And this is exactly what old Chicky Poo said last night on Roland Martin.
We're going to cut the check like Scholarship America says and does. We'll send it to you with the college's name. You send it to them. I forward that email to the director of financial aid. They put a note in her account and they credit her the amount of the scholarship because they know the money's on the way.
Timestamp written documentation is provided to the college, period. In the case of the students of Howard, if these things were actually done, there would be time-stamped proof via either the emails that they submitted or the financial aid module that they use in Access HU student portal. That means there's a record showing that they followed the steps, that they did what they were supposed to do when they were supposed to do it before the deadlines. The scholarship office typically then works with the bursar's office, completely different office. That's to make sure that any type of credits that should be reflected on the student's account are done so correctly. So even if you call a financial aid office, it's not the financial aid office that actually handles the student account. It's the bursar's office. Students should also be able to review their credits, their charges, their balances, all through their student portal. And in this instance, Howard University used to use a system called Banner. Now they use a system called Workday. And they're probably using a system called Power FAID, so Power FAID, to be able to supplement any type of thing that Workday can't handle. All of these platforms allow students and their families the access to be able to monitor all of their pending scholarships. They can create reports, they can document any type of account activity, and they make any type of adjustments to those funds as they arrive in the portal from the bursar's office. Here's the really big part that most people are actually missing, right? So even when you have a scholarship or financial aid that's expected, you still might have to do a payment plan because they need to be able to ensure that those funds are going to come through. Colleges are educational institutions. They are also businesses. They still have to do payroll. They have housing, they have utilities, they have technology fees, food services, all types of other expenses. So a university cannot automatically extend an unlimited line of credit to students whose outside funding might not have arrived. So this is why students typically have to sign up for a payment plan to assure that they're going to pay the university for those services even before the scholarship actually shows up. A lot of times students and their families are encouraged to make some sort of minimum required payment. So whether that's your $100 deposit, your $300 deposit, doesn't matter. Most institutions require it. What happens is if your scholarship doesn't come through in time and you had to do the payment plan, then when that scholarship or financial aid is finally received from whoever that third party is, then overpayment is charged to your account and you get a refund. So you end up getting the money back. This is why I feel like folks need to have this conversation. This is where family accountability comes in. We get the emails from the federal government that tells us when it's time for us to go ahead and approve our students' financial aid requirements. We get the notifications from the school. And in this case, I don't know what more Howard University could have done. If you notice, their financial aid has a whole YouTube page dedicated to this process. Their Instagram has videos. Their Instagram has had sessions about what to do for financial aid. The students themselves have admitted that multiple emails have gone out. What more do we want the school to be able to do in this case? I don't understand. Ultimately, colleges are still businesses, though. This is what we have to understand. For at Howard, for example, so according to their iPads in 2024, they had $255,535,000 in tuition and revenues that was generated. Yeah, and I said only because their total expenses as an institution was $1.174 billion. And they reported only $1.245 billion in revenue, which comes from grant revenue, contributions, endowment returns, athletics, all those things. In that year, they awarded $189 million in discounts and allowances, $28.5 million of which came from their endowment returns. So when students have outstanding balances, the school then has to float that money. And if their payment plan is not in place, and that means the school has to figure out where to get that money from. And they just can't extend a line of credit like that when they have so few dollars to begin with. And you might think that $1.245 billion in revenue is a lot, but when you pull out their $1.174 billion in expenses, yeah, that only leaves about $78 million for them to operate off of. And that's not really a whole lot when you're trying to take care of students in the best way that you can. Bottom line, as I discussed on Enrollment, there's processes to these. And a lot of folks who are making the money off of our institutions understand these processes, and they're able to capitalize off of it for their own benefit. I would say we need to ask the hard question. We need to understand that there are two sides to this coin. And so asking the tough questions might not be comfortable, but we can't lay the blame completely at the feet of our institutions. Particularly, they sent out multiple emails. They have well-documented processes. They have a YouTube page that gives all the videos. They have an Instagram page in which they have shown that they've had multiple sessions to be able to help people to prepare for this. This is a situation in which our feelings have gotten in the way of the actual facts. And so I beg you all to dig a little deeper. And before we start doing all of this public bashing of the institution, that we remember that there are two sides to the story and two sides to this coin.
And that's on that. And when I tell you everything that was in my head when I was hearing and seeing what was going on, she just totally broke down flawlessly. Number one, the university is limited on what they can say. They have to protect students' privacy. They can't come out and bash the students and or the parents because that would be 10 times worse. They literally have to sit there and watch the bashing happen. And people act like colleges are not a business. There is no way Howard University could sit there and let all of these students come in on a wing and a prayer, hoping that their tuition will be paid. She broke down the numbers on how much they have in operating costs and net profit. And it was something, I can't remember the number, but it's millions versus the billions that they bring in, right? Through the endowments and the grants and all of that. So when it's all said and done, is Howard University flawless? Absolutely not. Again, I went through extreme situations or extreme challenges. I didn't have housing my sophomore year until 3 weeks after class started. Didn't know if I was going to get housing, even though I was told I had housing when I left for, the summer break, that the sophomore students just that meet these deadlines, pay this money, and you would have housing. I wasn't the only one that experienced that. So I'm saying all of this to say this is not a new phenomenon. Howard University is the second largest HBCU in terms of size, student enrollment. North Carolina A&T is number one. And when you're dealing with massive numbers as it relates to anything, oh yeah, there's going to be some hiccups along the way. What I detest that's happening, and that's why she also mentioned, pay attention to who's letting this story just grow. This is making the evening news, whereas there are stories that are literally affecting our healthcare, affecting our ability to travel, affecting our finances that are being suppressed. But for some reason, this story has made it to the top of the food chain. HBC, Howard University unenrolls 500 students, is making the national evening news. And then you have all these other, Governor Hochul in New York, oh, come to CUNY. You have Governor Westmore talking about, oh, come to Maryland. Listen, at the end of the day, God bless you for speaking up now, but this is nothing new. This is nothing new, but the fact that it's a trending topic, oh yeah, you're going to have a lot of people step in. And you're also going to have a lot of students who know that they didn't do what they were supposed to do, take to TikTok, take to Instagram. And these are the stories with them with tears in their eyes that are being picked up. But as I started this, if you missed the beginning of this live, go back and watch it. We're being hoodwinked and bamboozled. This is a distraction. Howard University is in an area that has completely been gentrified. It's prime real estate. There's waterfront property. And the biggest red herring, as they say, is the fact that this one university in the midst of the nation's capital, which they are trying to whitewash, is the reason that there are like 25 plus thousand Black people, Black and brown people in the nation's capital. And so take that with a grain of salt, take it, however you want to, but understand from somebody who's experienced the miscommunications, who's had to navigate through the challenges, I wouldn't change it for the world. I didn't understand it then, and I'm not saying it was all intentional, but I promise you, there's sometimes you have to learn how to weed out the excess, trim the fat, as they say. And I promise you this, some of the students that received a lifeline, for whatever reasons, come next semester, they'll be in the same position. I don't want them to be, but we started talking about this new generation and their lack of commitment. There's a saying, well, not our saying, our motto is in truth and service. Howard University, that's the motto for Howard University, in truth and service. A lot of people that have applied to Howard University will not be able to live up to those standards. And so I totally, yeah, Dante. It's, and if you don't know, I can understand you being confused by it, but Howard University, they don't want us there. They have already, I'm just going to throw this in there as an aside. Homecoming, we used to have a tailgate. For decades, right? Our tailgate. So we are in a city, but the tailgate was across the street from our campus in this parking lot. Well, the area is gentrified. We're too noisy. We're too rowdy. Oh, I should show you pictures of the National Guard that literally littered the streets that everybody hangs out at after homecoming. Oh, National Guard, guns. Like, I don't expect this to be the last time a story like this pops up about Howard University, but I do want people to know that we're being hoodwinked and bamboozled, period, point blank, exclamation point. There is no way that the story is not, what is that, 20%? No, not even 20%. Less than 20% of the student body, the freshman student body, couldn't get it together, but 80% did. 80+% did. But you're going to focus on the small number. Like, this is absolutely, and from what I understand, some of the students that, they took another look at, they were like, okay, get us the money, get us the down payment, what you committed to. They gave them another extension. They were unable to do that. And so I don't want to bash any of the students that were unable to attend. I say this. The president said he would defer for a year. Like if you've got accepted this year and things can't work out, your acceptance is deferred for a year. Do what you have to do if this is what you truly want to do to come back next year. Or find a university that will accept you now. And if you can and you still want to, transfer in. But know that you will be better for this experience. There are lessons that you would have learned, students and parents alike. And I promise you that they're going to need it, because this world is even colder than when I graduated. And so the one thing that Howard taught me is that forever, every hurdle, there's a way to get over it, around it, or under it. And you just have to figure that out. And so a lot of you OG Gym Nation members can see through my tenacity, like this is the Howard way. Like this is the Howard way. And so I thank you for tuning in tonight. Who's this? Hey, WBM, good night, Professor Kim with Gems. Thank you for sharing and keeping all gems 100. Bless. I think I know who this is. Oh my goodness, it's good to see you again. I don't want to say your name out loud to the masses, but thank you for stopping back in. I'm glad you're okay. You are also on my list. When I get back to New York next week, I have like 6 people I was going to email. I want to be able to respond if you email back. So when I get back, I want to email, and you're on that list. Oh my gosh, so good. I'm so glad you're back. Well, anyway, I'm not going to ramble on any longer. I did want to come back with my, unpopular opinion. I have some more unpopular opinions about what's going on. There's an attack on HBCUs, period. And I'll just quickly talk about the Tuskegee. Is it Tuskegee? I think it's Tuskegee. Let's see. But I want to, they have, child, it is absolutely, yes, Tuskegee University sent out a notification that do-rags and bonnets will be banned from campus, from classes and cafeterias. And people have a problem with that. Like, I know I am absolutely getting older because I have a problem with that. This world is not a world where we can just go out in the street with bonnets and do-rags in public and expect to be treated fairly. I'm not going to get into everything that I have learned about all of these identifying markers and target ways that they're going to target us in the future. But thank you, Tuskegee. Thank you. Why is this national news? Why is there a protest? Why are people upset and saying this is the old way of thinking? Why is it that HBCUs have to justify a dress code? Let me tell you something. My nephew went to Morehouse. You want to talk about strict? Oh, that first week that they're there, suits, ties, okay? Like at the end of the day, it's a cold world out here for us. So again, I have my unpopular opinions. I'm ready for the smoke. I'm ready for the heat. Have at it. I could care less. But at the end of the day, preparation is going to be key for us. And y'all know that. Stay ready so we don't have to get ready. And wearing bonnets and do-rags to classes and cafeterias is not a way to stay ready. Not fulfilling your obligations, financial or otherwise, to a business or an institution that relies on your financial obligations is not a way to stay ready. And so I'm going to come back and talk more about some unpopular opinions, including what's going on with the Smithsonian with their, disclaimer about some of the depictions being not factual. We're going to talk about that more. But I did want to just do a live dedicated to my beloved Howard University. And yes, I was highly upset while I was there jumping through the hurdles, but I am so glad that I stuck it out. And, It's made me into a much more cunning, crafty, and cunning in a positive way. Like, yeah, you have to get up pretty early in the morning to tell me something can't get done, because I'm going to try to figure out how it can get done. And so with that being said, I don't have it. Oh, you're so welcome. Yeah, listen, the child, just call me an old fuddy-duddy, call me grandmama, I don't care. Why is this national news? Why are people fighting back? Why are people saying, oh, I'm not going to go someplace where they're going to dictate how I dress and what I wear? Like, come on, y'all. Like, come on. Yes, so I will be back. I travel early next week, so I'm going to try to come back Sunday. I'm going to try to come back Sunday, and then next week I'll be back after I get back to New York. But thank you for tuning in, Gym Nation. Don't forget to, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That's how you become part of the Gym Nation family. Don't forget to turn on your notification so you know when we come, because I sometimes come impromptu. A lot of times I come impromptu, but I also posted, oh my gosh, check out my tutorial that I posted earlier today, because additionally, we have to stay ready with this, with our health. And so I did a tutorial on one of my favorite herbs and how to make not only a tincture, but an oil. And so check that out. It's a quick, under 10-minute video, and I'm going to do more of that as well, but I will be back with unpopular opinions. So yes, good night, Dante. So good to see you, and I will see everyone else on Sunday. Take care. Bye.